Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to this presentation of Novedge's Best of the Best webinar series. My name is Vince, and I again want to thank everyone. We're excited not only to present Alibre Design 2012, but to have product manager from Alibre, Ryan Montgomery, presenting for us. Just a little background on Ryan. He's the product manager, as I said, at Alibre. He and his team work closely with development and Q&A to help prioritize Alibre development efforts and test new functionality to make sure it meets customers' expectations. Ryan has been with Alibre for 6 years, where he's managed the technical support team for the past 2 years. He also worked briefly in the sales and QA departments. How this is going to work is Ryan's going to speak for about the next 40 minutes or so. During that time, everyone will be in listen-only mode. Feel free to send your questions into the question box. At the end, we'll open it up for a Q&A, and we'll get to as many questions as time allows. We will be recording this webinar also, and I'll give complete details on where you can find the recording as soon as Ryan's finished. But having said all that, I want to get it turned over to Ryan so we can get into his presentation. Ryan, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, audio sounds great. I'm going to switch the screen to you and let you get started.
So today we'll be looking at Alibre Design, the 3D CAD software produced by Alibre Design by 3D Systems. First, we'll ask, what is Alibre Design 2012? Alibre Design is the most cost-effective engineering and personal design solution on the market, starting at $199. Alibre Design offers more functionality in CAD software than you'll see in most of our competitor softwares. It offers a complete end-to-end suite of software and libraries to take your idea into the market. As I mentioned, in Alibre Design we have a full suite of productivity tools, including 3D mechanical design for parts and assemblies. We also offer surface modeling. We have a standalone surfacing package called Moment of Inspiration that works in conjunction with some integrated surfacing tools. Alibre Design also offers sheet metal design, including the ability to import sheet metal models from other CAD applications and bring them into the Alibre Design format so that you can use advanced sheet metal modeling tools like flat patterns and unbends. We also have a 2D documentation module that automatically generates drafting drawings based off of the 3D model that you've created. We offer rendering solutions as well that take your 3D model and apply surfaces and textures to them so that you can make a realistic looking photograph based off of the conceptual design that you have. We also offer PLM and document management software called the Alibre Vault, which helps you tie specific data to models and documents involved in a specific project so that you can go and easily apply filters to find documents that were created by a particular designer or documents that apply to a particular project. And it allows you to easily manage and modify those documents. We also have a CAM module called the Libre CAM that generates G-code based off of toolpaths that you designate inside the software. And we also offer motion simulation as well. There's a broad scope of different products that can be created in Alibre Design. It's an open-ended modeling system. So on this screen we have some examples of things that a typical engineer would make, anything from a plant to a robot to a car body. All of these things can be done in our higher tiers of the Alibre Design software. We also have a number of hobbyists that use our software for different ideas and products that they have in mind. So we have a few examples of the different types of things that are usually created in our PE version of the software, which is that version that sits at $199. What makes Alibre Design 2012 different from other CAD solutions out there? The biggest thing is the price difference, that Alibre Design starts at $199. Our highest tier version of the software is at $1,999. In addition to that, Alibre Design is easy to use, so it's easy to transition from other CAD systems into Alibre Design. It's also easy to pick up if you don't have a CAD background. Our tools are built so that we have an intuitive GUI. And we also, as you can see in our screenshot here, we have tips on all of our tools in the product. So if you're uncertain how a particular tool works when you're making your way through the different modules in Alibre Design, you can simply hover your tool on that, or hover your mouse on that tool, and you get a pop-up that shows you a picture of how that tool's applied and a brief description that tells you what you need to do to get that tool to work. So that prevents you from having to bounce back and forth between the design module and our help, or going to our technical support team with questions or taking training classes. In Alibre Design 2012, you can jump directly into the product and just start designing. And then also the accessibility. Alibre Design is easy to buy, it's easy to own. It works on almost any computer. It has fairly low system requirements. And it works with all your major standard CAD formats like IGES, STEP, STL, etc. So now we'll do a quick demonstration of Alibre Design. We will demonstrate making a simple part, inserting that part into an assembly, and how that applies into the automatically generated drafting drawing in the product. So I have a pre-made assembly here that I will pull open. This is a circular saw that we designed in our QA efforts a year or so back. And we also have a drawing that we've created from this 3D design. So we'll jump back into our assembly, and we will demonstrate making edits to this design, creating new parts, and how that reflects into our drawing. So first we will take one of the parts in this design, and we'll edit that in its own window. All design changes in Alibre Design are done through 2D sketches. So we'll activate a 2D sketch. We'll apply some holes to this part. So we'll position those circles, and then we'll take those circles and we'll do an extrude cut. We'll cut that through the entire part. You can see when that cut's applied, we now have holes. So we'll close this window. You can see that those holes are reflected inside the assembly. We'll go ahead and we'll add a couple more here. So now we will create a new part within this workspace. Let's go ahead and edit that in a separate window. And once again, we will activate a 2D sketch. We'll revolve that. Then we'll head back to our assembly. So we now have this new part that's free floating in the assembly, and we will quickly and easily snap that into position with the holes that we've created. And just like that, we've snapped that part into position. It's now locked in place. So now we can add some extra copies. So now we've made our modifications. We can save this. And when we head back to our drawing, we can now reproject these changes into our drawing views. Once we reproject, you can see that those bolts that we created are now shown in the drawing. So in Alibre Design, it's easy to create documentation for your parts and keep that documentation up to date as you make design changes throughout the product. In Alibre Design 2012, which is the latest version of our software, we have a number of new productivity tools to help enhance your design process. One of those you may have seen when I was creating parts. So when you're sketching in Alibre Design, we have a new contextual editing system that allows you to quickly make design changes without bouncing your mouse back and forth between the area that you're modifying and your toolbars. So I can simply box select these two lines, apply a fillet. I can click, switch to the line tool. So these tools allow me to quickly create sketches with a minimal amount of mouse travel and clicks. On top of that, we have a new GUI in Alibre Design 2012, as I was mentioning before, that allows you to jump into the product and just get started rather than having to watch training videos to get you going. So you can simply hover your mouse on any tool in Alibre Design to get a demonstration of how that tool is applied and a brief description of what you need to do to get that tool working properly. So that covers our overview of Alibre Design. I'll now open the board up for questions if anyone has them.
Yeah, if anyone does have questions, feel free to shoot them in. We haven't got any in yet, Ryan. I don't know if there was anything else you had or you wanted to cover. Still have about 20 minutes.
We can look at some different areas of the product. We can go and look at sheet metal, for example. We made a number of improvements in Alibre Design 2012 in the sheet metal module as well. One of these improvements is the ability to create linked flanges. So I've created a number of flanges here. In Alibre Design 2012, I can easily manipulate these flanges as a group. So I can go in and edit this flange, modify the length, you can see that that applies across the board to all of the different flanges. We'll also look at the import and export with our sheet metal conversion. So we'll go ahead and export this to a dumb format like IGES. So now that I've done that, of course right now this model is in our own internal Alibre Design format, so we know where the bends are and we can apply operations such as a flat pattern. But when you're working with imported models, of course, that's not the case. A model in a standard format like IGES does not have that information behind it. So if I created these sheet metal parts in another application, I could simply export them to one of these standardized CAD formats. And then we will open that file. So you can see that this is the same sheet metal part that we were working with before, but Alibre Design does not know that it's a sheet metal part. It's simply an IGES file that we imported. So we can take this and convert it to our sheet metal module. We designate a tab. Then we can go in and select bends to convert. Or we can use the replicate option, which selects all of our bends for us. And we hit apply, and what this does is this creates flanges for all of these. It creates internal flanges for all the flanges inside the design. So now I can go in and manage this part just as if it were a standard sheet metal part. So I can change a flange. I can remove features. And I can still use our flat pattern functionality. We can also project this into drawings. Forgot to save that. We can project that either in its flat pattern state or in its bent state. We can also generate bill of materials for the items that we create on the drawing. For that, we will go back to our miter saw. So you can see that the bill of materials is already generated or automatically generated from the contents of our assembly. And we can use that information to call out items within the part. We can apply dimensions. And of course, these dimensions are, Alibre is a parametric modeler, so any dimensions that we apply will update if we make models to the changes to the model. Or we can make design changes directly from the drawing by altering these dimensions and then saving the drawing and the assembly. We also have a number of custom engineering views that can be applied. For example, we can create a section view. In Alibre Design 2012, this is another update that we applied in the last version. You can now associate specific patterns, hatch patterns, to individual parts within an assembly so that when you apply section views, your hatching is automatically displayed for the type of part and material that you've applied. We can also make quick edits to different properties in the drawing using our layers and dimension styles. So if I want to modify the dimensions on the sheet, I can go to my dimension styles. Change the dimensions how I like, and you can see that as soon as I make that change, it's applied to all of my dimensions because all of my dimensions are currently set to the same style. Same thing with layers. I can modify attributes of the design simply by changing layers. And I can apply what we call fields and labels as well, so that each time that I reuse this drawing, I can set up a template. So each time I use this drawing, it prompts me for specific data. So I can go and apply a field for designer. And if I create a new drawing from this drawing that we've just created, when I do so, I'm prompted to fill in that data. Another new feature we have in Alibre Design 2012 is on the part modeling side. And that's simply the ability to project sketches from one sketch plane to another. So if I make a basic extrusion, and then we apply fillets to that, that original geometry is no longer available, so we can go and create a new sketch plane. from this sketch plane, we can project our original sketch. And of course that's associative, so if we go back and we modify the original design, you can see that our projected sketch is updated as well. So I think that covers about everything. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, we'll jump into some questions right here. Here's one from Frank. What action did you do to open the tool option box in the workspace?
Options? Well, we have, with our new ribbon GUI, the ribbon GUI is toggleable, by the way, so you can, for existing Alibre Design users, if you're more used to our traditional interface, you can turn the ribbon off entirely and basically revert back to the GUI that we had in prior versions of Alibre Design. But in the ribbon, you can access the options by clicking on what we call the gem at the top left. And from there, you can access both your system options, which applies to things like how big are your reference planes, your color schemes, import-export options, things like that. You can also access your design properties from the gem as well, and that applies to document specific attributes like layers, for example, or your units if you're working in 3D or 2D. Both of those can be accessed from the gem. Or if you're working in the ribbon, you can press Alt, which summons our traditional menu. And you can access the options simply from the Tools drop-down. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, sorry here. Let's jump into another one. Here's one from Robert. Can you give an example of the CAM module?
What do you mean by an example? I don't think I have the CAM module installed currently. Let's see. I don't.
That's all right. Here, we can jump into another one real quick then.
Okay.
Here's one from Gabe. Is there a way to export to 3D PDF or another 3D web format for simple, impressive presentations to clients?
Yes, that's built in to our software. I believe that's in the professional level of Alibre Design. But once you have some solid geometry created, you can go to our gem menu and there's a publish to PDF option. So you can see this is a Adobe PDF document. And it generates the 3D model, so you can rotate this around. You can also, inside the PDFs, you can also create exploded views, and you can animate the exploded views. So in a large assembly, you can have the PDF so that it opens with a 3D orientation of the assembly, and then you click an explode button, and each of the parts start automatically pulling themselves out of the assembly, so you can see all of the internal components as well as the full assembled design.
Okay, cool. Here's another one related to the CAM. It's from Lowell. Is the CAM software 5-axis compatible?
I believe it is in the higher tiers. We have different, just like we do for Alibre Design, we have different tiers in the CAM. So I don't think that that's available in all of the tiers, but I believe it is in the higher level.
Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then here's another follow-up from Frank. What he really wanted to know, what was done to open the on-screen flyout with tools like chamber, bevel, etc., without having to go to the toolbar?
To open the on-screen flyout, I'm not sure I understand what that means.
I don't know.
I think he's referring to the direct editing, or the.
Well, the direct editing is available on the ribbon, as well as our toolbars. And none of those have flyouts. They do have dialogues or overlays on some of them. If he's asking specifically about toolbars...
Yeah, I think he's...
Say that again, I'm sorry?
In-place editing. I think that's what he was...
Oh. So, this flyout?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, Frank, if you want to follow up and specify. Yeah, he said, yeah, that's what he was talking about.
And what was the question about it?
Is there a way to open the on-screen flyout without having to go to the toolbar? So I guess...
Well, this flyout is not linked to the toolbar at all. So if I have the selection tool, there's a number of different ways that I can access that menu. One is I can just select something. So anytime I click on an object or even multiple objects, I get this menu, and anything that I apply in this menu applies to those selected objects. So if I select anchor here, then that anchors both of those lines. Or in the example I used earlier, if I apply a fillet, that applies to both lines. I can also middle click, which you probably can't see through the demo, but I can left click an empty space to get that menu. I can middle click, or I can hit spacebar, and that comes up. And that's not exclusive to our selection tool. That applies to all of our design tools. So even if I'm in the middle of a line, I can draw part of this line and then middle click, and I can quickly switch to another tool. You can also do extrusions through that menu as well. So you can actually make entire sketches and do all the design edits that you need without ever moving your mouse off of the canvas. So most of the tools that we do have in our toolbars are, they're the same tools that you'll see inside of that in-place contextual menu. But the whole idea behind that menu is that you never have to go to the toolbars to apply those operations. You can do it directly on the canvas with minimal mouse travel.
Okay, yeah, Frank said that cleared everything up that he was wondering about. So yeah, I don't know. We don't have any other questions in the question box. If anyone has any sales-related questions, sales manager Jonathan Pace from Alibre is a panelist and is totally open to fielding any questions you guys had. But yeah, as it stands right now, I don't know if anyone wanted to throw a question in real quick. Yeah, it doesn't seem like anything's coming in. Yeah, Ryan, you said you're... Oh, here we go. Here's one from Roger. How do you get assemblies to regain? I don't know.
Could you say that again?
Does that make sense? It's from Roger. How to get assemblies to regenerate?
To regenerate, they should do that automatically depending on how you edit the different different components. So as you noticed, we were doing that a little bit when we were playing with the circular saw. In this instance, all I was doing was right-clicking on the particular part that I wanted to modify and going to Edit. If I do it in this manner, then the regeneration is automatic. So as you noticed before, when I applied these holes to this part, all I had to do was close that workspace and return to the assembly, and those modifications were shown in the design. We do give you the option of, each one of the components of this assembly is its own standalone part. So of course, as such, you can go in and modify individual parts to make changes without actually going into the assembly. When you do that, if you open the assembly afterwards, it should automatically regenerate with any changes that you made, but you have to be careful. If you do that simultaneously, then you can end up overriding some of your changes by saving one session after you've made changes in another session. We also have the ability to manually trigger a regeneration in the assembly, and that command is available on our ribbon right here. But as I was mentioning, most of the time you should not have to use that option. If you're editing in the process that I demonstrated a moment ago, then all of those changes happen seamlessly and go directly into the assembly after they've been applied to the individual parts.
Okay, here's a little follow-up from Roger. He said that he has parts that are see-through and that should not be see-through. I don't know if you can advise him on any way to fix that.
I'd have to look at the parts to see what the exact issue is. We do have transparency in Alibre Design, and that's actually applied to some of our parts in this assembly, as you can see from the lever here. You can see inside of those parts, but of course that's intentional. It is possible for faces to not display properly if they have, if there's errors in the geometry. Often that happens from imported models where the data just isn't translated properly, and there's some gaps or errors inside the geometry, and Alibre can't figure out how it's supposed to be displayed. Outside of that, the only thing I could think of might be the faceting. If you set the display faceting to extremes, then it can have some, I guess, undesired effects on how parts are displayed. But usually that's fairly easy to fix if you just go into your display here. We have a curve smoothness slider bar that you can use to adjust that deep display setting. So usually if you slide that out, if you're seeing those types of issues, if you just slide that over a notch or two, that'll be addressed. If that's not the case, you can email me at ryanm@alibre.com, and I can take a look at those parts and figure out what's going on.
Okay, cool. So I think that just about does it for the question part. I'm going to switch the screen back to mine, and we can wrap things up here. Cool. So again, thank you, Ryan. Great, truly great presentation. You're an expert at what you do. I'm sure everyone out there enjoyed as much as I did. And yeah, I want to thank everyone who tuned in. Day before Thanksgiving here. This presentation of Novedge's Best of the Best webinar series. Just a little background on us here at Novedge in case you're unfamiliar. We're the leading online design software superstore. Our staff is extremely awesome and incredibly knowledgeable. You can call, chat with us at any time. We'd love to hear from you guys. Any feedback on the webinar, any questions about our prices, Alibre, anything, we'd love to hear from you. Another thing I'd like to draw your attention to is WikiCAD. It's shown here on your screen. It's an online community we've created to help foster the collaboration between design professionals. It's basically your one-stop shop for all things CAD news, CAD tutorials, CAD events. We have a ton of stuff, Alibre-related events we like to keep posted on there, videos, tutorials. This webinar will be made available there if you wish to view it again. Yeah, it's free. It's easy to sign up. I would highly recommend checking it out if you do get the chance. So yeah, having said that, I don't know, Ryan or Jonathan, is there anything you guys wanted to add really quick before we sign off?
I don't have anything here.
Nothing major, but if anybody does have any questions, as I mentioned before, feel free to shoot us an email. Mine's ryanm@alibre.com.
Yeah, I'll send a follow-up email to everyone, and it'll have information, and I'll give Ryan's email out to anyone if they have direct questions for him. So yeah, having said all that, happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Thanks, Vince.